Okay, well, good morning everybody and welcome to our webinar this morning. We'll be looking at making your forms mobile and showing you how easy it is to use Nintex. We will be recording this webinar and sending out the link to everybody afterwards, so if you want to share it with your colleagues you can do. And if you want to ask any questions, there's a panel on the GoToWebinar screen that you can type them in and we'll be answering those at the end. So I'd just like to hand you over to my colleague Dan, who will be presenting the webinar for you today.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name's Dan Fow. I'm a consultant at Point Beyond. I specialise in SharePoint, and I've done an awful lot of work with Nintex recently, specifically looking at Nintex Forms and Nintex Mobile. So I'm going to take you through a bit of background on Nintex Forms, Nintex Mobile, and then I'm going to show you a demo that we've put together, which really highlights a lot of the functionality that you can use to put together some really fast and neat applications. So let's go through the agenda. Okay, so first of all we're going to have a look at some of the benefits of using mobile devices for forms. Then I'm going to take you through the demo. Then we're going to go back and look at how we did it. I can go through some of the options available to you. We'll do a quick summary and then we'll have some time for some questions at the end. I'm thinking this is probably going to take between 30 and 45 minutes, depending on the number of questions we have. So please save up any questions, put them in the box on the right hand side, and we'll go through those at the end. Okay, so why do we need this kind of solution? We did some research a couple of years back, and we found that an awful lot of companies have a backlog of undelivered solutions. Now, there's a number of different reasons for this. It could be resources, budget, capabilities. You know, if you're going to put together a mobile app, you're going to need the skills in-house to develop this on Android, iOS, Windows Mobile. You know, it can be quite a big task. We find that a lot of these kind of workflows and practices that we can solve with Nintex, Nintex Forms and Nintex Workflow, can have a real impact on productivity if they're slow paper-based processes. It can also have negative impact on accuracy, customer satisfaction, and ultimately what you're worried about at the end of the day is your productivity and your profitability. So with this kind of solution, we're looking to get rid of your old email, paper-based, Excel solutions that involve ad hoc scanning, emailing, different forms for different systems. You can bring it all together in one system using SharePoint and Nintex. So down at the bottom of this slide, we've got some examples of the kind of thing you can do with this sort of solution. You could record sales information, so you could give mobile devices to your sales team out and about, so they can record the information and save it directly into a SharePoint environment. The example we're using is facilities management. You can imagine this would work for customer inquiries, timesheets, expenses. I mean, think how good it would be if you had the ability to take a picture of your expenses, your receipts, as you have them, and submit them to a list back in your SharePoint environment. It would certainly speed things up, and you wouldn't have that backlog at the end of the month where you have to sit through a pile of receipts and submit them one by one. Okay, so why mobile enable these form solutions and workflow solutions? Well, you get all the usual benefits that we mentioned before, such as the increased speed, the lack of paper-based systems, more control, but also it's the speed of execution. If you enable these forms and workflow processes to be used on mobiles, you're taking out the delays where you have to wait for people to be back in the office. We find that workforces are much more mobile now. You're less tied to your desk, so why should you have to be at your desk to fill out forms and complete these important tasks and processes? We really find that you get some good time saving being able to do it on a mobile, out and about, when you're on the go. Another thing is that as employees at home, we all use smartphones and tablets. We expect this kind of functionality at home, so why shouldn't we expect it at work? And also you might have customer expectations. If you're filling out paper-based forms in front of your customers, it's not going to look as professional as filling out forms directly into a tablet. Also with mobile devices, we get some added functionality where we can use the onboard cameras. So you can actually take pictures and submit them to your SharePoint library directly from the phone, which is something I'm going to show you in the demo. We can also do this, we can also use GPS. So we can actually record the location of each of these incidents as we find them. And as I said before, you can do this anytime and anywhere. One of the great features of Nintex Mobile is that it has some offline capabilities, so you don't necessarily need to have reception to actually submit your forms. Okay, so this slide is just going through some of the benefits of using SharePoint and Nintex. And I'd say the biggest one is that you can put together these quite complex solutions and workflows with absolutely no code. We can replace some complex paper-based systems and allow our staff to capture information on their mobile devices without using any code at all. The solution we put together today was done extremely fast, so you can have fast delivery of your solutions using the out-of-box functionality. I put together this demo in a day, and so effectively I put together a mobile solution that you can use on iOS, Windows Mobile, and shortly Android, and we did this in a day, so you can really rapidly put together some solutions. And another key thing is that this is done in a secure way. All the communications are encrypted using SSL and HTTPS, and the apps themselves are very user-friendly and easy to use on the mobiles, as I will show you in the demo. Obviously, one of the other big key factors is the cost savings. Okay, so the demo I'm going to show you is for a facilities management system. So we've imagined that we've got some maintenance engineers who need to go out on council workers that need to go out around their local borough and record incidents and submit them back to the office. Now, we imagine that a lot of this is currently done taking pictures, filling out forms, and then these engineers are going to have to go back into the office and key this information into a system. We put together a system that would allow them to do this on the go. But you could also imagine this could be a travelling sales team, or you could use it for questionnaires in the street. You know, it's quite flexible. So let me slide over to the demo. Okay, so what we've got here is a SharePoint 2013 environment. We have simply put together a standard site using the out-of-the-box templates and functionality. We've put together a simple list. So we've got a list here of all our maintenance reports. This is just a standard list, and we've created some custom columns that we use to record some additional information. And behind the scenes, we've created a custom form that sits on top of this using Nintex forms and an Nintex workflow that will move this information between the relevant parties. So first of all, I'm going to show you how easy it is to actually create a form using Nintex forms. It's all done in the browser, so you don't have to have additional software. So if you're using InfoPath at the moment, you'd have to fire up a separate app. You'd have to do your workflow in SharePoint Designer. All adds complication. This is all done in the browser. So we simply go up to the toolbar at the top. We click on the list options, and you can see, because we've installed Nintex forms on this environment, we can edit the list form using Nintex forms. So I'm just going to click on this and customize the form. And it's loading straight into the designer, which is all done in the browser. Now, what Nintex actually does, it actually looks at the columns in your view and will automatically create you a form. So this is pretty close to the actual form that was automatically created by Nintex. Now you can go in here and do any kind of amount of branding and styling. I've kept this fairly simple out of the box just to show you what it looks like. We've put together a number of different items in here, and you can see that our list columns from our SharePoint list are all available in here. We simply drag and drop them onto the form to add the functionality. We've also got a number of different Nintex controls in here that we can use, including geolocation, which is a new one which we've put in. We've got repeating sections, all the things you would expect from a forms designer, and it's a really simple tool to use. You could really pick this up without any real training. If you're familiar with designing these kind of things, this shouldn't be a problem at all. Now, what I'm going to show you here is, you might notice that I've left a space here. I'm just going to show you how easy it is to create these forms. So if we go to our list columns, what I want to put in here is something called a due date. So we want to put a deadline on when these tasks need to be completed. As you can see at the moment, this isn't showing in our list of columns. Now that's actually because it's not been created in SharePoint yet. So what I'm going to show you here is another great feature of Nintex Forms, is that we can actually create SharePoint columns from within the Nintex Forms designer. If you're using, say, InfoPath, you would actually have to do a lot longer process to create this. So I'm just going to click on Create a Column. We want to call this column Due Date. We want a date and time field. I'll accept all the defaults here. I'm going to click OK. And you can see that that's already dropped into our list of controls on the left-hand side. Now, to add it to the form, I'm just going to click on it and drag it over to the right-hand side. And then it's very simple, drag and drop. I just want to extend this box so it matches the rest. Now you can see that the styling looks quite different on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on one of the existing date and time fields. I'm going to use the format painter. You'll be familiar with this if you use Office and you're frequently editing things. So we're just going to use the format painter, and you can see that we automatically sort the styling. Now this is quite a simple form, but you can see up the top here we've got options with CSS styling. You can add your own logos and images. You can set background images. There really are a lot of options for customizing this and getting it to match your corporate standards. And the format painter also copies across the CSS class, so it's really easy to put these together. So we're missing a label on this one, so I'm just going to go back to General Settings and click on Label and drag that across. Double click to edit. Due date. I'm going to save this, and you can see it's, again, the styling is a bit out, so let's use the old format painter. Okay, and we're done. So that was very straightforward and simple to put together. Let's publish this back to the list. Okay, so it's going to tell me that we've used some specific layouts for different mobile devices. I'm going to accept all the defaults and click OK. Okay, and we have successfully published this form. Now this particular form we've published to the list, so it's been published to SharePoint, but we've also taken the option to publish this to Nintex Live. So this effectively puts a copy of this form with the Nintex Live service. Any communication with the live service is done over SSL, so it's encrypted and secure. But what this allows us to do is actually to to use these forms via Nintex Live on our mobiles, or you can actually use the Nintex Live portal to log in and use these forms from any browser on the web, which is a really great feature. In fact, we put together a demo recently where we published an anonymous access Nintex form up to the internet, so people could use a calculator to work out how much digital signatures are costing their company. What I can do is I can just show you what that looks like. So this is an Nintex form published out to Nintex Live. We've allowed anonymous access. We've put in a bit of light branding, but this is the sort of thing you can do. It's a really powerful tool. And we can also use it with our mobile devices. That particular form is actually available via a blog if you want to take a look. Okay, so you may have noticed it when I was in the editor before. I'm just going to take you back into the Nintex forms. And I'm going to show you these device layouts at the top. So what I just edited was the desktop view, but you can see that there's some other predefined views for various different devices. And Nintex does these out of the box. So if I wanted to enable this for iPhone, I just click on the Nintex mobile for iPhone layout. It will automatically generate the fields for me, as it has done here. This really had very little customization. I just moved a couple of fields I didn't want, and I can just republish that, and we now have a iPhone-enabled view, which I think is extremely powerful. We can also do that for iPad, for Windows 8, so you can do this for Surface or Windows 8 for desktop apps. There's no BlackBerry on here, but you can see there is a layout for Android devices. So this is this covers all your bases. There is a generic smartphone layout if you wanted to use this with a device that I haven't mentioned. So what I'm going to do is just show you how this looks on the mobile device. So I'm going to close down this form, and I've got a tool on my system that allows me to use AirPlay to share my screen on my desktop using an app called AirServer. I'm just going to turn this on. Okay, so this is my own personal phone device. It's not a corporate device, but I've downloaded and installed the Nintex mobile app, and you can see that there's a number of different forms available to me here. This is my connected to the dev environment, so I've got some test forms here, but the one we're interested in is the maintenance report. So I'm just going to click on this, and you can see that it's a very nice clean layout. It's very slick on the mobile. This is a free app, and I can fill out a maintenance report. So imagine I'm a maintenance engineer out in the field. I've spotted something that I think needs attention, and so I'm just going to put in a call for an abandoned car. I can use the GPS device on the phone, so I'm going to select my location with the inbuilt GPS. We put some categories in, so let's select a category. This is an abandoned vehicle. Priority level is high. Please remove blocking desk. What I can show you here is another great feature with Nintex Mobile is that I can actually add images from my phone. So I'm going to select an attachment and click Add, and I can go to my media library, or I can actually use the camera on my device. So we use my camera. Let's take a picture of this abandoned vehicle. I'm going to use this photo. Okay, you can see it compresses the image, so we're not sending a lot of data over the system. We're only sending 234 kilobytes. Okay, we've got everything we need there. Let's click submit, and you can go to the outbox, and you can see that this form is now being submitted to our library. Okay, so that's successfully gone. So if I come back to our library and click refresh, we should now see our abandoned cart. Okay, so let's just fire this up and have a quick look. Okay, so you can see we've recorded all the information, and we can go and have a look at the image. And there you go. So that's how easy it was to submit this back to our SharePoint library. This is a very powerful system. With this particular app, the way I authenticated was to connect to Nintex Live using my personal Windows Live account information. You also have the option of authenticating with your on-premise AD, but to connect to your live account, you can tie your on-premise AD account to a live account, and Nintex Live effectively acts as a gateway between the two. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, now we've got this information in the list, I can show you how we've actually integrated some of this information with the latest SharePoint 2013 functionality. If we go to the abandoned cart that we just logged and click on this new geolocation field within SharePoint, you can see that we can actually look at a map using Bing that automatically allows us to use Bing Maps, and we can zoom right in and see exactly where we logged this call from. And you know, this is a really powerful tool. If you imagine people out and about, they can submit these requests, and we can direct them exactly to the location using the GPS information. And within SharePoint, there's also a new feature that allows you to create map views. So if I click on this map, you can see that all of our previously logged support cases are plotted out using Bing Maps. And if I click between any of these, you can see the various different locations where they're located. There's a cluster over here. Let me zoom in. And you can see that we've got a number of different locations. So if we want to have a look at one of these, we can hover over, click on it, and it will automatically select it. Click edit. Let's have a quick look. Okay, this is one I did earlier, so I spent a lot of time walking around my local town taking pictures, got a few weird looks, but it was a good way of demoing the system. So this was a damaged road sign. Obviously needs sorting quite urgently. If I go back to the map, you can see exactly where this was recorded. In fact, we can zoom right in and you can actually see the crossing where that was located, which I think is, is particularly good. One thing I didn't actually mention, with the app, it actually gives you the functionality to use the forms offline. The Nintex mobile app caches a copy of your forms. So if you're in an area with no reception, you can fill out a form and submit it, and it will stay into in your outbox until you actually get reception and you're able to submit it back to your library. And it will actually do that automatically, which is brilliant. Okay, so if I go back to the dashboard, we've also used some of the other functionality around Nintex and Nintex workflows I can actually go to this particular task, this abandoned car, and I can assign this to one of our engineers. So here's the due date field we put in. We're going to give them until the end of the week, and I'm going to assign it to myself. And click save. And we've got a workflow running in the background that's going to go and assign this task to the end user. We can actually modify task forms in Nintex and make them available to the mobile app. So I'm just going to flip back to my phone and show you this. So this is if I go back to this list, you can see we've got a list of tasks. I'm going to click in on one of these tasks and show you how it works. So I can go in and view the attachments. I can see that I've just taken this picture of my screen, and there's also a map showing directions from my local office to the GPS location of the image. And I'm going to show you how I did that in a moment. So I'd fill in information, say approved. I can put some comments on what I did to fix the task, and then submit it back to my boss. And you can see here we've created a simple dashboard to show this information, so we can see which tasks are assigned, which have been rejected. You can see who has outstanding tasks. You know, you can see how quick it is to put together quite a complex solution using these tools. So let's have a look at the workflow. So again, this is all modified in the browser. You don't need any separate apps. You don't need SharePoint Designer. We're going to go in and manage workflows in Nintex Workflow. We've got a work assignment workflow. And again, very similar to the forms, we've got a very nice graphical user interface. There's a vast amount of options available here, more than you get out of the box with SharePoint workflows. You know, we can integrate with various different systems. So if you want to integrate Nintex workflows and these forms with your line of business systems, you can call web services. We can interact with SQL, CRM. We can interact with the user profile service. We can query XML. You know, there's an awful lot of options for connecting to third-party systems. There's also some nice features you get around loops, state machines, running parallel actions that are a lot easier to do in Nintex than they are out of the box with SharePoint. And if you're using old versions of SharePoint, some of these things aren't possible at all. So this particular workflow, we wait for a task to be assigned to an engineer, then we update the status, and then something else that we've done is we've actually we've taken the GPS locations of the individual, and we've got a list that shows their local office, and we can map a route from their office to the location using Bing Maps. So we grab the GPS location, we extract the longitude and latitude, and then we're able to actually pass this information into Bing directions. So if I double click on this, you can see that we can pass in a variable of the engineer's location, and we've also got a variable for the destination, and then we can say we want directions for in miles, we want it for driving, and what this actually does is it queries Bing Maps and allows us to save various different outputs to variables, so we can actually record information on the distance, duration, and then we can have text directions. So you could put this in an email to the end user. You can actually put this information in the task form. It really allows you to add a bit of value. And this was all available through the Nintex Live catalog. You can think of the Nintex Live catalog as a sort of app store for your Nintex products. So I can just go in there and show you some of the stuff that we can interact with. I picked Bing locations here. All you have to do is come in and click Add, and that will add it to the list of controls over here on the left-hand side under Nintex Live. There's an awful lot of stuff in here. We've got being language detection, translation tools. You can interact with Office 365. You can post blogs on LinkedIn, Twitter. You know, there's a lot of good tools on here, and they're constantly adding to it. So you know, watch this space. I think there's a lot of exciting things coming through to this. So once we've assigned a task, it's a simple workflow where we just set the status and update the information. And once you've done this, you know, the solution is done. We put this together in a day. It's got some very powerful features. We're using mobile devices. We've also got this up and running on the iPad. I've had this installed on my Windows 8 machine, and we don't have to recode for each solution. It's all done once, and it's done very fast. And there's no cost per individual device. Nintex is licensed per web front-end server, so there's no additional cost to going mobile. You just need to instruct your users to tie their accounts to their local accounts and install the app on their mobile. So I'm just going to flip back to the slides. And go through how we did this. So we talked a bit about this in the demo, but this is a nice graphical representation. We've got an on-premise SharePoint 2013 server. This also works with SharePoint 2010. We've installed Nintex Forms and Nintex Workflow, and that gives us the ability to publish our forms up to Nintex Live. Now, to do this, you don't have to punch holes in your firewall. It's all done over HTTPS. And you can imagine Nintex Live as the gateway between your mobile devices and your on-prem SharePoint environment. You've got the option to use live authentication on your mobile, or you can actually connect directly using your AD credentials. There's a vast amount of options available when it comes to authenticating your users with Nintex. If you go to our blog, you will see that we've put together some information on this. I'll just quickly flip over and show you this. We put together a table showing the various different authentication and access methods for Nintex Forms. So when we send through the information on this presentation, we'll send you a link to our blog, and you can review this in your own time. So, in summary, you can see that Nintex Forms allows us to, quickly and easily put together some powerful integrated systems with workflows. You can integrate these with your line business systems. You can add mobile functionality, and you can add that to multiple devices with no code, without lots of additional training and resourcing requirements. And you can deliver these solutions in hours, not weeks or months. We were just thinking how long it would take to put together this kind of solution using custom code and have it supported on Windows Mobile, iOS, and soon to be Android, and you can imagine it would take months, not days or weeks. So that about wraps up the demo. How are we doing on questions, Sonia? Have you got anything through?
Yeah, we've got a couple through, but if anybody else wants to add to them, obviously you can just type them into the box there. The first one we've got was, you mentioned repeating sections. Do they also work on the app?
Yes, they do. So they put out an update recently that's added the functionality of repeating sections in the app. So it's not just on the form in the list, you can use it in the app as well.
Okay, brilliant. And then the other one I've got here is, how secure is sharing information on the mobile?
Okay, so they've put some thought into this. So the forms on the actual mobile devices use the built-in encryption technologies provided by the device. So on iOS, they use the Apple Data Protection API, which encrypts the form locally. All that information is then sent via SSL up to Nintex Live. On Windows devices, they use a built-in encryption called BitLocker. So they've really given some thought to this. All the information is sent encrypted, so it's it's a nice secure platform.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, I think that's all the questions we've got, unless anybody else would like to add anything. But as it shows on screen, we are offering a 30-day free trial, so if anybody is interested in finding out more, or you want to ask us some questions offline, please do contact us using the information on the screen at the moment. I will be sending out the link to the recording after this once I've got it up on the website. So thank you very much, Dan, for the demos, and thank you to everybody for joining us today. Okay, thank you all. Goodbye.